So I just got back from an ayahuasca retreat in the Amazon at Arcana, and I came away with a deeper understanding of my purpose and what I believe is humanity's purpose. One of my nights there, I experienced a very difficult beginning where I went through some loops. But towards the end, and I'll talk about this in more detail another video, but I experienced what I can only describe in summary as an understanding of how humanity will complete its purpose, its soul journey on this earth, how each of us will finish what we've started here as souls. And what it comes down to is it feels weird to say this because it's not like something that Morgan, knows. It's more like an awareness that was kind of shown to me, and I'm just like translating it to the best of my ability. And I'm sure that I'm going to kind of say it wrong, but at the same time, it feels like I have to say it because it's that important. So I'm going to do my best. But it encompasses all of the religious and spiritual teachings. And it boils down to, in every single moment, each person becoming fully aware of their conscience. So in each moment, noticing our reaction and choosing our response to the external world, and also noticing our internal reactions and thoughts, and then what our response is to that awareness. So using all of the teachings, right? Using Jesus, Buddha, the Tao, like all of the things, the Enneagram to understand our ego so we can identify it when it comes up. Using Byron Katie's self-inquiry to notice our judgments of ourselves and others, to question our beliefs. Listening to Eckhart Tolle and him teaching the power of now and being present in the moment. So much of what he says speaks to this in its own way. And an untethered soul, surrendering, the Surrender Project. Die-wise, but I believe in Mary Magdalene Revealed, she talks about, perhaps in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, she says there is no sin. And this is also related, right? So the idea is there is no sin in the cultural way that we see sin, that religion and the patriarchy has pushed it on us. Sin is, in a way, it's like not being our true selves, not being authentic. And our authentic self, our true self, is pure love. So when we are not being pure love, we are in sin. And that relates to like the angel and the devil on the shoulder. In every moment, as our individual consciousnesses evolve and come up and awaken and rise out of our egos, and we bring light to our ego and love to our ego on an individual and a collective level, we become more of an expression of that true love, and less of the expression of the not self. And when I say self, I mean like the inner consciousness of oneness of all being. So in each moment, I'm existing. A thought arises. This takes a lot of practice, and it's a constant evolution and growth. And there's a slowness almost that is needed to really be aware of this, especially at first. But like a thought will arise. I have to be awake and aware enough to notice the thought, realize that the thought is not me. Is it a judgment? Notice that I am not that judgment, not identifying to the judgment. Asking myself, rather than looking at that person, perhaps I'm thinking about someone else or witnessing someone else's actions. Instead of witnessing them and judging them, I go, this is a mirror. It's a moment to learn more about myself. Is this person mirroring something that I do? Am I judging and it's creating separation between me and that person as if we are not one, because we are one? Is that judgment causing me suffering? Am I putting myself into a more superior position by being right and them wrong? So in every moment, it's noticing the ego, right? But to even notice the ego, we have to learn what the ego is. And that's when tools like the Enneagram and other things are really wonderful. So this new understanding that I have is so basic. Like, it's so simple. It's literally like preschool consciousness when it comes down to it. It's like, do the right thing, you know? It's like basic, like, commandments. But how often do we do things that we justify, right? And we say, well, I deserve this, or I'll do it later, or I'll just have this one, or no one will ever know, or so-and-so does it, why can't I? Or I've always done it this way before, or it's hard to change. Like, all of the ways that we excuse ourselves from doing the thing that the angel on our shoulder, like, or our heart, or whatever you want to envision or feel, or what like rings true for you, whatever that intuition, that knowing, in every moment, the big awakening is when every moment we're listening to that thing, and then we're actually following through on what it says, what our conscience tells us to do. Is it, I told myself I was going to eat healthier, and now I find myself gravitating towards the ice cream, and some part of me goes, fuck it, I'm just gonna eat it, right? But before we do that, there is some part of us, unless we're on like complete sleeping autopilot, which I've been in, so I get it, and I can still drop back into, there's still some inner knowing and voice that says, but you said you weren't gonna do this, right? And so that's a self-betrayal. It's always self-betrayal. Even when we're betraying other people, there's a self-betrayal component to it. And there's an excuse that goes along with it, some justification. Perhaps it's, judging someone, and I know what this is like. I've had to do so much work on judgment in the last couple of years, and I'm not done. Like, I'm still working on my judgment. And something will happen where someone will do something and I will judge them, and I'll start a story in my head, and it's a story of them being wrong and me being right. My superiority is kicking in, and As soon as I catch it, right? Let's just say that I'm not slowing down enough to notice it in the moment. Eventually, I practiced enough now where I will catch it and I'll go, whew, okay, you're in the story again. I am not in the love, the connected oneness and unconditional love of all people, all situations, the unconditional love of the present moment, no matter what is happening in the present moment. When I am not all in that unconditional love, as soon as I notice, I break into awareness, and that awareness allows me to then be aware of my body. Where am I feeling that in my body? My body is just a condensed, energetic center of consciousness. Okay, we are all just forms of consciousness. So when I'm back in touch with my body and I'm out of my head in the story, I'm back in the present moment, and then I'm slowing things down again. So it's like constantly waking up and falling back asleep, waking up and falling back asleep. But the soul's completion will be, I'm really just translating here, but the soul's completion, what I was shown in my ayahuasca trip, is being in that love, shining the light on the shadows, and choosing selflessness in every moment. Not only the light that fills our own existence up, right? Filling ourselves and our hearts, bringing light and love to all the shadow parts in our own hearts, and then shining that, like that's the last step. It's like, and it happens together, right? It happens in unison. It's like the shining, the light, and then it automatically wants to shine back out, and then it grows and it shines back out, and that's how we're going to come together as one in this human existence over all the lifetimes. And some souls are going to get to that point sooner, some are going to take longer, but I think my guess is that it's going to speed up, because as more people are shining and the light on themselves and others, it will exponentially affect everyone around them, and generational patterns are going to be breaking, and we'll all be so aware of what is happening in every moment. Things will slow down. We will be awake, a lot less asleep, right? It will be just this judgment, notice, release, love. Fear, notice, love, safety, shine the light back on the world. Feel it, I notice it. I am aware, I am awake, I am noticing. There's that story again. I love you. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. Thank you for teaching me. Connecting with full presence with other humans, with full listening, heart open, eyes open, mind open, safety, holding space for others, witnessing their transformation and their evolution, and being witnessed, being seen, being loved, back and forth. And then we'll be complete as that happens. And I don't know if this is true. I'm not attached to it, but it feels true. It feels right. The closer I get to being more awake more often, it feels beautiful, you know? but it's a lot of work. And there's a lot of love and self-forgiveness and acceptance and forgiveness of others and empowerment, right? So we're constantly empowering ourselves and others, and giving ourselves the freedom to succeed and the freedom to fail, and holding ourselves accountable and witnessing ourselves with that same love that we can witness and hold space for others. We do that for ourselves too. And as we ask ourselves, what is holding me back in this moment from fully loving myself and the world and all things, we start chipping away at the shadows that keep us from seeing the love that we actually are. We're shining light on the shadows that keep us from seeing that we are all one consciousness. We are life itself, all of us. And when we are struggling with others, we are struggling with ourself, the giant self. It's one part of ourself struggling with another part, and that can be the microcosm of one individual struggling with parts of itself, to a family struggling with parts of itself, a community struggling with parts of itself, countries, the world, right? It's all just microcosms of the macrocosm, fractals of the whole. And as we learn to fully love ourselves, it automatically flows into loving and accepting everything around us.